Pecha Kucha 294, Spawn Batman, better than I thought. I'm going to alternate between the slideshow and the video Pecha Kuchas for a while I iron out some of the difficulties doing the video. It might not really be worth the effort. I'll have to wait and see. Now, Spawn Batman is a book I've spoken about in the past. I probably called it the worst comic book I own, and it probably still is. I tried to reread it because I'm still waiting for my library to stop its COVID security issues so I can just walk in and take out the new stuff that I want to have a look at. But until then, I'll just keep looking at my old books. This book, predominantly the reason I hate it is because it makes Batman seem like an idiot. Frank Miller writes it. Todd McFarlane drew it. They made this in the mid-90s. This book must have sold a fortune. Batman has no plot armor in this book, so he immediately gets in over his head, gets almost killed by a giant robot, uses some bullshit MacGuffin plot device to win the fight. All while Frank Miller narrates this in a way that I can't quite explain why it's weird, but it's just something about the way he does it. Todd McFarlane's art was more of my focus as I read this book. He does a lot of stylistic things, like if you look at how fucking ridiculous Batman's cape is. It's completely unpractical, but you know what? It's cool. This is something that defines Todd McFarlane as an artist. He will draw things that look cool, but are completely fucking stupid. And the way the book is coloured is very, very, very 90s. It's difficult for me to define, but you can tell it's digitally coloured by people who were maybe a little too eager to screw around with what they couldn't in the past. But I don't know I'd say that there's good art direction. I don't know I'd say there's bad art direction. I think the book's not as bad as I constantly like to say it is until about halfway through, where Batman yet again is being an asshole attacking Spawn because he doesn't understand what's actually going on. But the point is, over 6 pages, both characters keep repeating themselves in speech bubbles, and it just seems stupid, and they never really recover from this. I also noticed in this reading of the story that Todd McFarlane sometimes forgets if Spawn is supposed to be wearing his mask or not. In this page, he's mostly not wearing it, but in the immediately preceding page, he is. And it doesn't fall off. He's just not wearing it. Batman eventually gets himself killed, because that's what happens in most Batman books, right? Spawn resurrects him from the dead, goes into his mind, forces them to team up. And all the while, Batman's like, fuck you, I don't need help. I'm Batman. And it's like, dude, you were literally on the floor twitching. They save the day. Spawn says, hey, let's bury the hatchet. What does Batman say in response? Fuck you, I'm Batman. Here's a batarang in your face. There are a lot of reasons Frank Miller might be making Batman this unrelatable and hostile as a character, but you know what? I don't know how much of an alcoholic he was in 1994. That's all I'll say about this time. As I was thinking what M. Bison to draw this week, I was tickled by the idea. Let's draw M. Bison as Todd McFarlane would. What are the visual tropes he uses in the book I've just read that I think I'd quite like to take the piss out of? He has a thing for drawing faces in silhouette that doesn't really make sense in terms of lighting. He likes big bloody capes. And that's all I was really going to do, because you know I don't do my Tuesday Bisons to like draw stuff that's good. I'm just going for the flavor, put something together over the course of an hour and a half or something, because it's a welcome change from me scripting this manga book of mine that I'm going through. I am not trying to stall as I get through my 10-issue book, but I know what's coming afterwards. It's going to be a page by page manga that I'm going to have to draw, and I don't know how, so I'm going to have to figure it out on the fly. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But issue 3 of the 10 issues of this book I did this week. The point of the issue is there's supposed to be a strong emotional thing that happens to the main character that kind of sets him off on the trajectory of the story going forward. And it was a weird week in that I spent a lot of time changing what that thing was, giving up on the idea of there being something overtly traumatic and then accidentally letting the characters find their way into a situation that got quite intense. I've always been of the belief that if you put well-considered characters in a situation, they kind of write themselves. I think Alan Moore's maybe said the same thing. This is kind of what happened. I may be the captain of the ship, but I don't really control the way the sea responds to what we're all doing, I guess. I'd like to think this is the hardest issue for me to plot, but really every issue is a broad synopsis that I'm giving myself 20 pages to try and resolve without like a tight script. Like, this is me doing the scripting, what the characters actually say, how they actually relate, how they're actually perceived by the audience. And while the artwork it's mostly scribbles, there's enough here that I can see the finished product from here. A lot of this will be edited and altered as I, try to improve the layouts and finally sit down and do proper character design for the characters. But we're still moving in the right direction. And then on Saturday I did a little bit of, Smiley Show stuff. I'm still trying to subvert my Saturdays and kind of inadvertently make myself make a book, a Smiley Show from start to finish without really intending it to be the thing that I'm doing. I'm a little bit closer to that on the side. But yeah, the next Pecha Kucha will probably be moving image. It's difficult to figure out how to edit these things so that they're worth looking at while not becoming the most labor-intensive thing I do all week. But that brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 294, and I'll see you next time.